Hey guys, welcome back to Tamiya Legends, and once again, thank you for stopping by. So this is part 2 or 3 of the Hotshot. This is a thing of beauty. If you've not seen this before, I'll link the video in the description of how I got to this. So if you don't know, it's a standard Riri Hotshot, but it's got the vintage Jg Dart body shell from back in the day. Now this is a reproduction version which Team Blue Groove do on eBay if you should want to go down this route. It got a very interesting response when I posted the video, and it's something I've not really seen before, and I think I kind of understand it. Don't get me wrong, overwhelmingly it was a big thumbs up for it because I achieved what I wanted to achieve. A different body, but it still looks like the Hotshot. But there was quite a few comments, and even on our Facebook group, where people were like, oh, this is how it felt to me, people were like, why are you messing with the Hotshot? It's a classic, just leave it as it is. And I fully get that, I understand. But I think a lot of those people weren't understanding that this was an alternative body shell for it back in the 80s. And you know, you can Google it. There's not many of these things around. Never seen one done in Hotshot livery. I believe I'm the first to do that. But I think it looks stunning. I've got to be honest. So as I say, I'll leave that video in the description. And just while I'm talking about that, we're going to be fitting this today with the Superstock RZ motor. Now I've done a video on this motor because I've now fitted this with bearings. I've taken the bushes out. So I'm super excited to see the difference in performance, if any. So I'll also link that video in the description as well. So the whole purpose of this video is basically to fit a full bearing set into it, which is a real ball ache. I'm not going to get into why Tamiya don't supply bearings, but it'd be so much easier if he did. So this is, you know, you got to get both gearboxes. Sorry, I'm rattling around. Got to get both gearboxes off and then open them up, and by the time you do that, you have to re-grease and all that. It's very time consuming, but you know, I don't really run anything without full bearing kit. So that's the mission, and as I said, once we've got the rear gearbox off, we'll fit the lovely RZ motor to it as well. Now I haven't got any radio gear to put in this yet, unfortunately, because I only run 2 sets of radio gear. One set does have 2 receivers, but that's all I need. I never on this channel have lots of cars ready to run. It's 1 or 2 max. Now my radio gear, one set's tied up in the Falcon and the other set's tied up in the Wild one. Now I'm due to run the Falcon this weekend. If all goes well and nothing breaks, then when I'm done with that, the radio gear will come out and we'll fit that into the Hotshot. What I'm planning to do with this, once it's ready to run, is, and I'll do this in this video as well, I want to see if I can get the Tamiya dual block tyres and wheels on this car, because I want to, because I'm testing that motor out for the first time as well, and this is a brand new build, so it's its first run. I want to put, like, because these are more tarmac tyres than, obviously I won't run them with these wheels and tyres, that is just for sure. But if I can get the dual blocks on, obviously it's I've got to change the adapters over because these are a 12mm hex. But if there's enough clearance, which I don't know yet, but we'll hopefully fit these. And then I've got the original set of Hotshot wheels and tyres that came with this car, which have got loads of tread on, they're just not new. So I won't do it in this video, but we'll get the tyre writing done on these, and these will be the wheels and tyres we use when we take this in the snow or the gravel, depending on what's here. But again, because I want to do a GPS test as well with this car, just see how it runs on 2S with this motor with bearings in. So that's the plan for this video. It's going to be a full kind of strip down, get the bearings in, re-grease, get it built back up. I probably should, with the spare receiver I've got. The reason I'm not fitting the spare receiver is because that's the one that was in my TRF 503 disaster when we wrote that car off. I still have nightmares about that now. The antenna wire got wrapped around the centre spur gear and it was just a disaster. But ever since, I've never trusted that receiver. But what I could do, I could just sort of do a mock setup once the car's built back up, and we'll put some power in, maybe get a steering servo in there as well. That sounds like a plan. Might as well do that when it's in bits. So yeah, that's what we'll do. So we'll give it a mock test, and then at least we can bench test it and make sure it's ready to run. And as I say, when whichever receiver becomes free first, we can bang it in, and then this is ready to go. So enough babbling, let's get cracking. So just in case you haven't seen this thing, here's a little close-up of it. I absolutely love this thing. Let's lift the camera up. So obviously it just gives it that added width. A little bit like an Optima mid chassis shell from back in the day. And it has this really strange front wing on, which is optional. But as I said in the earlier video, it actually, I believe it needs it. But yeah, this is one of my favourites I've done so far on this channel. I'm really liking that. As I say, the whole idea was to for people to look at it and at first glance go, oh, it's a Hotshot, and then sort of do a double take and go, oh, that's different. And yeah, I think we definitely achieved that. Anyway, as I said, let's start the stripping process. Well, what a mission that is. This is why I've been procrastinating about doing this, because it's almost a full strip down to do this. And sometimes I just can't be bothered, I've got to be honest. But anyway, it's done. So as you can see, I mean, that was time lapse, and it was over 30 seconds in time lapse, which is just ridiculous. So I'm doing this sort of from my head. I don't really need a manual. I've built many of these things. So obviously I've got the arms off and stuff. So there's a pair of bearings to fit in each arm, which will take 8 bearings up. But we'll do that as I start to fit that back up. But there's the chassis, as you can see. I try to get that shock off, but the screw head won't come out because of this section. So obviously I just took it off at this end. So anyway, we've got it. So there's 4 screws at the front to take off, and then the front gearbox will drop out, and the prop shaft will drop out. And then looking at this, there is, oh sorry, there's 1, 2, I think there's 4 bolts on the back, and then the back gearbox will fall off, and then we'll crack them open. So I'm just going to give you a very interesting fact that I only learnt yesterday. Probably you guys might know this, but I actually think, or thought, I had really sort of decent knowledge of early Tamiya buggies. Not all, I'm talking about the first 100, but the buggies within that 100. And I found out yesterday that the original Hotshot did not have this alloy cover. It's on a body clip, and that lifts up and out, and you can get in to see your electrics. The original chassis was complete plastic, and I never knew that. And I'm that geeky with the old Tamiya stuff. I absolutely love learning new stuff like that. And so when someone asked the question, I was like, nah, that's not right. For whatever reason, I just assumed that every Hotshot had that, but it's only the Riri. So there you go. If you've got an old Hotshot kicking around and that's plastic, then you know you've got an original. So as I say, let's whiz these gearboxes off next, and then we'll crack them open and see what's what. Right, that's the front gearbox cracked open. So there's a couple of things to talk about before we get our fingers dirty. So the outdrives, the standard, has a bearing either side, which I didn't realise. So that's obviously good. And there's also, you probably can't, let's see if I can lift this up a little bit. Down here, I believe that's called a thrust bearing. but I'm not 100% sure. But everything else in here, in these gears, needs to come out. Which is just, it's not hard, it's just messy. What else is there? So yeah, obviously I've took the motor out, and it's got the smallest pinion on it can, which is a 15 tooth pinion. I was hoping you can go up to a 17 tooth, but I don't have one, which I'm gutted about. So it's gonna be running on its lowest ratio. I've got a shed load of pinions, and I've actually got about 5 brand new 15 tooth ones and nothing else. I was just trying to think what the Falcon's running and the Wild one, but to be honest, I can't be bothered taking a motor out of something else just to do that, which is a little bit unfortunate, because obviously we were looking at how this runs with the new motor on tarmac and stuff. So it's kind of going to be at its slowest setting, which is a little bit unfortunate. And the gear ratios, that 4 tooth change on the gear ratio takes it from the 10s down to the 7s ratio wise, which is a huge leap. It is something I can change at a later date. So I guess if I haven't run it and I'm passing the model shop, I could always call in and see if I can get a 17 tooth. But it is a little bit more fiddly with the Hotshot. If you guys know it, these splices here, those splices there, you put them in different formations depending on what pinion you're going to use. So it's a little bit fiddly, and you've got to get that bang on. So it is what it is, isn't it? It's unfortunate, but we'll go with the 15 tooth, which will give it plenty of oomph on the snow and the gravel and what have you. It's going to have a lower top end. Anyway, what I'll do now is I'll whiz these gears out and change those bearings. Right, that's that front gearbox. All the bearings are installed. There was 3 small ones came out and 3 large ones. So that's fully ball raced now. What I'll do is now I'll assemble that back together, and then next job is we'll crack open the rear. Let's get cracking. Right, that's the rear gearbox done. One bearing in there, large bearing in the back, and then underneath that is the bevel gear. So there's a large bearing that goes there, and I can't show you, but there's another small bearing that goes in there, and I've re-greased. So it's just a case of cracking that one, not cracking, but putting that one back together. So that's all the bearings that came out, and we're left with 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're left with 8 bearings, and obviously that's for the out drives, which will fit as we're building it back up. So what I'll do now is I'll put this back together, and I will fit it back onto the chassis, and we'll grease the prop shaft up, and we'll get it back onto here. Yep, let's do that. Right, that's it, built back up onto the top deck chassis, as it were, so everything's greased, so both gearboxes bolted down. As I say, prop shaft is greased. I probably just need to check that that's at the right angle, because that's for the front bumper, so I want to make sure that's at the right angle. I'll do that next. But as I say, that RZ motor is looking pretty blingy. What I need to do now is build the back end up, so it's a case of getting that rear shock on. So I think I'll go as far as I can on the back end, and then we can start getting the remainder of the bearings into the out drive arms. Right, that's the back end built up, and any of you eagle-eyed Hotshot nerds will have probably noticed on my previous clip that I had not fitted this here. I'll show you, this screw here, that one has to go in first before the gearbox, so I had to drop the rear gearbox back out just to mount that rear shock there, which was nice. But anyway, we've got it all back together and everything's working as it should. I've got the bearings in the outer hubs now, so we're down to just 4 bearings on the front to fit now, but that's all working fine. Interestingly, I found, which I find this really odd, on the rear anti-roll bar, let's see if I can get this thread here, when I was putting it back together, this turnbuckle end was loose on the rod, so I kind of just wiggled it and it just fell off. And for some reason, the person who built it has cut this rod with what looks like a pair of pliers or something. All the end of it's just really rough as a dog's bottom. So I've had to just get a little file out and smooth it and then thread it on. But they've actually made it shorter, which is really odd. I'm guessing they must have struggled to get the turnbuckle end on, but they actually made it worse. Anyway, God, this is taking some time. I think I'm about 3 hours into this. Now I know I'm doing videos at the same time, which takes longer, but it's a slow process. So I guess it's this front end next. So and I'll tell you what I'll do as well. I need to put the front anti-roll bar there so I don't forget it, because I also had an issue. I'd fitted this rear end of the shock and then I realised I'd not put the bloody anti-roll bar in. That's the downfall of just going by your head and not instructions. There's a lesson to be learned there. Anyway, let's get this front end built up. Right, that's the front end built up. I said at the beginning of the video I was going to like put power through it and whatever, but I'll be honest with you, I just can't be bothered. This has been much more involved than I expected. I basically built the car again, and I've got a lot of frustration. If any of you guys have got a Hotshot 2 or Super Shot, you'll know this box here that comes off the chassis where your steering servo bolts to and your electrics go in. There's different size bolts that go around it. And again, whoever built this has used the wrong bolts, which really frustrates the hell out of me. Because if you use the wrong ones in different places, it threads and breaks stuff. And the person who built it just hasn't looked, and it is really frustrating. So I've bolted it down best I can, but and what I need to do is when I do come to fit the electrics, I need to take every screw out of that section and see what I can do. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's on and it's tight and what have you, but I hate that because it's brand new and it shouldn't have been like that. Anyway, sorry, little rant over. So what I'm going to do now, I want to dig some adapters out and see if I can fit those dual block wheels on, just while I've got it like this. So just so you know, in case you don't know, that's the wheel adapters the Hotshot use. It uses those 3 pins which locates in the wheel. But obviously the dual blocks take the standard 12mm hex, which I believe I've got some. So let's dig some out and fit those wheels, see what it looks like. Okay, that didn't work either. I seem to be having one of those days. So the rears were fine, they fit, but the fronts are rubbing, and it gets worse as you turn left and right. Which is a bit of a shame because I'd like to run those tyres just to on the tarmac. But looking at it, it does look a little bit pants, to be fair. It looks far too sort of bulky, but not the right wheels for it. Anyway, not to worry. Let's get the car built back up to how it should look. And she's done. I had planned at the beginning of this video to do more steering servo, put power through it and that, but it's just taken that long. And I also trying to do, when I start a video, I don't really like it to go into the following day, which is a bit nerdy, I know, but I like to finish it in a day if I can. So anyway, we've got a lot done. We've got it fully ball raced. The diffs are way smoother. I'm really surprised how smooth they are. And I've also noticed the suspension is way smoother, and that's, I'm guessing, because I re-greased the I don't know what you call them, the 4 bolts, well, 4 on the front, 4 on the back, that hold the arms on. So I re-greased those. I don't remember them being dry when I took them out, to be honest, but I put plenty of grease on them, and the suspension is way softer now. So I'll actually have to do the adjustment on the shocks and turn them up one level, which is great. So that's all good. And as I say, the diffs that motor's super tight with the magnets, and it's got me thinking now. I can't remember what it was like when I first got it new. but it feels mega tight. So I've run the motor, so I'm sure it's fine, but it's just in the back of my head that there's something not quite right about it. So anyway, that's pretty much it, I think. So now I need to get my backside into gear and get the Falcon and the Wild One running videos made, and then we can get the stuff in here. Bit of a shame I can't fit the road tyres on, but nevertheless this car came with the original Hotshot wheels and it can run in those, and it'll actually look better running in those anyway. So once again guys, thanks for watching, it's really appreciated. If you are new to this channel, if you could please consider liking and subscribing to support us, and if you do that, please smash that notification bell for our weekly videos. And as always guys, happy RCing.